Warning, this podcast may change the way you think about business, entrepreneurship, and money forever. The Conquistador Podcast was created for dreamers, entrepreneurs, and leaders who want to conquer their future. To be an epic entrepreneur, you must adopt the right mental paradigms as well as master the art of selling, marketing, and finance. Now, it's time to welcome two serial entrepreneurs, leaders, husbands, and fathers who are passionate about sharing the strategies that are helping them excel in life and in business. Here are Mauricio Garcia and Hubert Humphrey.
What an interesting topic we have for you today, my friends. Welcome to the Conquistador Podcast. My name is Mauricio Garcia. And I am, as always, joined by my friend, mentor, and partner, Mr. Hubert Humphrey. Hubert, how are you today?
Doing fabulous. Great to be here, man.
And I am excited for today's topic because, recognition. I remember when I first started in this financial industry as an insurance agent. First, I was working just to make ends meet, right? After I left my job at the cell phone company, I got into this wonderful business, and I was just obviously trying to make those sales to make ends meet. And the minute I got recognized on stage with a little perfume or cologne, that I've never been recognized really for anything. The opposite was actually true all my life. But I got recognized on stage, and from that point forward, there was no week that I had less than 10 to 15 applications submitted so that I would make sure I was first place. Didn't know what was happening to me at that time, but it seems like I stopped working for money and started working for recognition. Now, that's just the premise of what we're going to talk about today in a way, because if anybody has seen the way that you recognize your sales force, we go all the way back to the 1980s, 90s, and look at those big events with 30,000 people in the MGM Grand. And I've never seen those like bigger than life, Oscar-like, Alexander, Golden. It's like you're in a fantasy world there, the way you recognize people. And I wonder, what that most of us in business don't know about recognition in that way and what it does to a sales force.
Well, it's ultimately it's the most powerful thing that you can do for people to move your sales force. In fact, in our system, we've got the recruiter's mentality is the first section, builder's mindset's the third. You got to learn how to recruit and find approach prospects. Get raw material, get people into the deal. Then you got to learn to build them into leaders and teams. But after you've done all that, along the way, and after you've done all that, it's how you to move them. The word motivate actually means to move. I don't mean just raw speeches. I'm talking about to move. You want to move them, and ultimately the person that succeeds in being the director of motivation usually builds the team. Recruits people faster, builds the team faster, and certainly moves the team better and grows the team to greater success than the person that doesn't understand that. It's the great success fertilizer. You start fertilizing a seed the minute you put it in the ground. It's a little fertilizer. Mm-hmm. Then you're going to fertilize it when it's a little bit bigger. Fertilize it a little bit bigger until it's finally you reap a harvest of some fruit. But fertilizing all along the way was the key, and that's what recognition is in motivation. It's the most important thing in the world, and it fulfills the most basic element of a human being. Is we want somebody somewhere. Animals have this. Humans have. We want somebody to recognize that we exist, that we have some significance. We're here. And a lot of times recognition is just contacting somebody, just letting people know you care. If you happen to be in a little position of success and you reach out and talk to somebody else, they say, "Well, golly gee whiz, this person who is so busy, so successful, thought about me, contacted me, sent me a note, sent me an email, a text, called me." That's better than a trophy. That's better than anything. But I just know that that's the most important thing, that it moved me. I was telling you earlier here before we started, when I was in the 5th grade in school, I was like you. Nobody ever recognized me for anything. I was just a little old scallywag kid growing up there. And then they tell me, I get to hearing about this spelling bee, B-E-E, a spelling bee contest for people who know how to spell good. And I said, well, gee, I can spell pretty good. And I got to checking it out. And usually it was just the 7th graders that could be chosen. They'd choose a couple from each school, and there were about 30, 40, 50 schools in that whole big county, and they would come together and have this big county-wide spelling bee with a couple of hundred people, and then it'd end up one person would win. And they put it on television. They had just put it on WMAZ TV, which used to be, it was probably still is a TV station down in Old Macon, Georgia, where I used to live. And I said, television? They can put you on television? Wow. I can beat some. Anyway, I messed up the parade. I'm in the 5th grade, and I win it for our school. So they send me, this little 5th grader, with one of the 7th graders, and we were the 2 that went to recognize them. And long story short, I get in there. First year, I come in 3rd. Second year, I come in 2nd. 3rd year, in the 7th grade, I win the spelling bee. I got that trophy. That was it changed my life forever. It was a paradigm shift, if there ever was one, in my life. And all the time, I recognize that. And it doesn't take a lot of money. You mentioned the big events. We've had
I want to know, like, when was the epiphany moment where you said, this is what I got to do? Because I know every sales organization has recognition events, stuff like that. Obviously, I've worked for a lot of the biggest financial institutions, in the world, really. They send you a little letter here, recognition, and it feels good, but nothing like the level that you put together. And
there are levels to it, by the way. And
right.
Most any financial services company, they'll spend money on you, and the big top guys, they can send you on a trip somewhere to Europe, or they can send you to Florida or to Mexico. But a lot of times they just send you, and there's nothing but you just going. There's all kinds of recognition. But what we try to do, you mentioned, you kind of mentioned like going to Disney World. Well,
I'm trying to get to the higher paradigm, right? Because there's a lesser and higher paradigm on it.
Oh yeah. I learned very quickly that we need staging. It's creating an environment. It's like trying to create. They call it Disney World, Disneyland. It's like you're entering into a whole new. You leave the world and you go into Disney World. It's a magical kingdom. Mm-hmm. I've tried to always take that feeling, that concept, and try to create things. I remember back, we had a Top Gun meeting for our top leaders. Way back, we were in Tampa, Florida, having it down there, and in the walls of the room, we had about 300 or 400 people in this first little deal. This was many years ago. We had the walls of the room looked like we were in a space capsule. We had circles for windows, and you could see clouds out there. We had a old cardboard rocket ship up there with smoke coming out the bottom of it, and I was telling them that we were going to the moon. And guess who our speaker was that night? Buzz Aldrin, who was one of the first 2 men to walk on the moon. So I got an astronaut that's gone to another world, is speaking to us, and we're inside a rocket ship. It was a fake rocket ship. So I just always learned that you got to create an environment, whether it's 100 people, 200 people, or you're in the Superdome. We've had 35,000 people in the Superdome back there in the old AOWs. We had almost 30,000 at the MGM Grand Garden in our WMA. And on and on and on, guys. That's what you do. You build these events so that it gives them a chance to escape into a world. And even the littlest guy, just the fact he's there, you were recognized at being at a big event. You're just sitting there is recognition. You get an experience. And the recognition you're giving to other people is pulling people's hearts and minds, saying, I want to be on that stage next year. Mm-hmm. I want at the next event. I want to be somebody. When you do a leaders bulletin, and we put it online now, you see on these leader bulletins in real time, all during the day. These people are just checking the leaderboard constantly. People want instant feedback. There was a book written several years ago called The 1 Minute Manager, and it talked about instant feedback. Everybody wants to know the score, how they're doing, how they're competing, how they're stacking up. So we've kind of got it all where you see a scoreboard. We got contests to go to Hawaii, to go to Europe, all these things. You want to go because that's where your friends are going to be, your co-workers, your contemporaries, the people you're competing against are going there, and you want to do all that. So it's just you're giving them an experience that they can't get somewhere else. That's why we spent so much money in all these companies. And if you look for a common denominator in all the great billion-dollar market cap companies we've built, it was a system and a few other things, but it was spent tons of money.
To build it that big, then those events have to be like bigger than life events. Because if anybody sees a video of these events that you've done in the past, it's like you bring one of the most monumental sites of Greece and put it into an MGM Grand, and it's just the whole environment. And so I wonder how many millions and millions of dollars something like this ought to cost. And maybe for somebody, who's just starting out as an entrepreneur and thinking that they had to do, that kind of an investment, maybe it's not, possible really in the beginning. But the principle of recognition to their sales force and how making them feel important can really move them. Like you said, motivate, the word motivate really means to move. And as I shared my story, that made me move more than anything. It was nice to be making more money than all my siblings combined. When you bring in, 10, 15 applications every single week, and you're averaging $1,500, $1,200 a pop, even back in the day, that's motivational. But it came a point where recognition was, and I couldn't escape from it, and maybe that's just human nature. Maybe that's just the way that recognition impacted me. It's the same effect it has on anybody, on most anybody else. And so just understanding that, and then trying to scale it and create those environments to eventually try to accomplish, what you've done. Because even the largest insurers in the world, I've been to their events, they're nowhere near at all.
Right. Well, obviously, if you align yourself with something bigger than yourself, you get to be a part of all this. You get to enjoy the event being done without you having to be able to be the one trying to do it all, because most people don't do that. But you got to just understand that basic principle. I remember from the first recognition. I remember the first time I recognized my first 4 or 5 recruits when I first left the railroad and went into financial services. I couldn't afford anything, so I had a half dozen bananas, and I took a old magic marker and I wrote on there top banana, number one banana. It's so instead all I could give them is a banana. And the great thing I learned about that is if you give somebody a plaque or a trophy, that's wonderful, but they'll sit there and look at that thing forever. They need to quit worrying about that when they go get another trophy and earn another trophy. Well, the nice thing about the banana, by the time you gave them that banana, they could look at that banana about 1 or 2 or 3 days and it start turning brown. About the 4th day, it turning black. By the 5th or 6th day, you got to throw it away. You can't look at that banana no more. You got to go get another banana. And so I learned it from even that little deal with no budget. Always said bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. So the more success you have by using recognition, it compounds, and the more money you make, the more money you're just going to commit. A certain percent of your budget needs to be for pushing up people, recognizing people, and do it, and down the road, if you're going to stage big Vegas gigantic shows and things of that nature, you're going to have to spend millions, but you've got millions of revenue to do it with. So
absolutely. One thing feeds the other.
Even if you got the revenue and you don't understand what it means or how to do it, then these big companies have got plenty of money. They just don't understand
exactly
the nature of the beast. Right.
Nothing at all. They're just aiming at the brain, product, features, without aiming at the heart and understanding how to really move people from inside emotionally to go out there and conquer it all. And maybe some people that may be listening right now that are not probably in the sales I mean, first of all, if you're in business or an entrepreneur, you work for a company, you're selling something, a solution, a product, or something. So somebody has to do the sales part of it. But even if you're like in management, right, recognition of insight, even if you're not in sales, I think this principle could be applied to even in a family with your kids. Like, how do you recognize and motivate them? There's just something about that recognition that even if we take it outside of just a sales force and business, can really have a significant impact on a human being.
Absolutely. I mean, in our family, when some of our kids have done, or even grandkids, or I even have great grandkids, when I know when we're having big family dinners or something, or now a lot of times they get on, like something's happening in their life, they're FaceTiming us or something. We're looking at every day. We're looking at 4, 5, 6 of our grandkids or kids somewhere, somehow. We're looking at them, and their parents are reporting to us, telling their little kids, bragging on them to us, and we're able to gush over them. That's recognition. If we're at dinner or something, and I know one of our guys is at school that did something great, or had something happen at church, or something in their athletics, or something. Mm-hmm. I'll pick out and say, hey, everybody, so and so over here did so, and all the cousins and everybody will give a little clap or something. It's just. It just and write them letters and all kind of stuff. It's the little things it's the little recognition. The ultimate recognition, that's the greatest of all recognition, is if you give someone your time. It's your spouse, your children, your employee, your leader. I don't care how big or how small. When you give them a little bit of your time and attention, you are on the path to succeeding in recognition. That is the most important recognition. Now, the gigantic recognition, it just supercharges people's lives and creates an environment. It makes it sticky, the stickiness that you want in life. Mm-hmm. To do it, and all we've got to know is just the why. Why people. You mentioned fighting for appreciation. I found out a long time ago that the real people that are going to be the ultimate winners, they will fight more for recognition than they will for money. They got to make money, but mm-hmm. man, they fight for that recognition. They fight for the front seats at a convention. They'll get in there and almost get wrestling matches to see whose team's going to be on the front row, and then they get in. They want to have their teams wearing a certain team shirt or jersey or something, and so you try to create stage all these different environments where it's the ambiance. It's a diamond club jacket, or it's a leader's shirt, or something. You create this imagery. Imagery is important in building a great mass.
Yeah, and it goes back to, obviously, speaking about human nature, is that we like to compete. There's competitiveness and the feelings that you get when you're defeated and then when you're winning. All these different things are what moves people. So I think it was a great podcast. I don't know if there's anything that you want to add, because I'm trying to wrap this podcast up, and so I want to remind everybody, if you want to learn principles like the principles that we're talking about today, recognition with your team, and how that can help you really grow a company, well, make sure that you are at the Conquer event that is coming up. This is going to be a virtual event, and you can sign up, you can register, you can buy your ticket at conquerevent.com. That is conquerevent.com. And so, Hubert, I don't know if there's anything you want to add for this Conquer event to get people to attend, and let them know what they can expect by joining us there.
Well, we're going to unlock the secrets of success for them, including principles of like human nature and recognition and team building and how to build leaders and just how to compete and how to overcome obstacles. All those types of things are going to be taught there, and it's just going to be an entrepreneur's boot camp. If 101.
I love it.
You won't get what we're going to offer you. You won't get any other place. I can promise you.
Awesome. Well, thank you for that. And also, just want to remind you that this podcast is made possible thanks to the sponsorship of Hegemon Group International. And so if you are looking for the greatest opportunity on earth today, you have to check out what Hegemon Group International has got for you. If you want to go to a different level financially, if you want to have more success in life in general, you have to check out what Hegemon Group International has to offer. And how do you do that? By going to hgiopportunity.com. There's a full presentation of what this opportunity is all about. But I'm telling you, it is something you need to watch. It is something you need to get involved in if you are sick and tired, maybe being sick and tired and not, getting the financial remuneration that you deserve, you truly deserve. So go to hgiopportunity.com and you'll be glad that you did. Hubert, it was an awesome podcast. We'll see you in the next one.
Hey, thanks, Mauricio. We'll see everybody later. Let's go conquer our future.
Let's do it.
Warning, this podcast may change the way you think about business, entrepreneurship, and money forever. The Conquistador Podcast was created for dreamers, entrepreneurs, and leaders who want to conquer their future. To be an epic entrepreneur, you must adopt the right mental paradigms as well as master the art of selling, marketing, and finance.